Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City was directed and written by Johannes Roberts and is the latest attempt to revitalize a franchise, especially when it comes to the silver screen, and hopefully trying to do it better this time. In this movie, we follow the plots of the first two games mashed into one movie as we follow Claire Redfield, played by Kaya Scudelario, who has uncovered something about the Umbrella organization and suspects something shady is going down in Raccoon City. And if they don't do something about it and uncover what has been going on and put a stop to it, it could get worse and spread to the rest of the world. And so along with her brother Chris, played by Robbie Amell, and other characters like Jill Valentine, played by john-kamen, Wexler, played by Tom Hopper, and Leon S. Kennedy, played by Avan Goja, they're gonna try and stop it before the whole town is razed to the ground in a few hours. By the corporation, of course. I am sorry that this review is a bit late, but I also saw that a lot of critics have not talked about this movie, so I didn't feel like I was really late. I felt like I still had some ground to work with, and so I don't feel so bad about this. This is the second movie in the last year that I can think of which tries to revitalize a franchise, especially for film that has existed before. The other one I think was Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins. I went into this movie with the hope that it would be a little more faithful to the games. I enjoy the Resident Evil games quite a bit. I'm a big fan of some of the recent ones in particular. The one that recently came out, Village, was really fun, and in fact is up for Game of the Year right now. And so I went into this movie with a little bit of excitement, actually, because when I saw the trailer, it felt like they were trying to capture the vibes of the first two games as best as possible. And to the movie's credit, it does do the atmospheric stuff really well. I'm going to start off with a positive, in fact. The film gets some of the production design stuff from the games really well. For example, a lot of people have talked about the police station looking very accurate, and it very much does. And I do have to give some praise to the fact that there is adherence to detail there, and I respect that. I think certain aspects of that are handled well. As far as the atmosphere goes, like I mentioned, it does try to follow the creepiness and the tonal differences of the games to the best of its, extent, and I think that I think they did a fine job with that. Like, it did feel like it was very much more in line with the games than the Mila Jovovich, Paul W.S. Anderson movies were. However, I had issues with it throughout. This was not particularly a good movie. It's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. It's certainly the best Resident Evil movie I've seen, maybe, but it's still kind of a mess. A big one, actually. My biggest issue with this is all of it is actually with the writing, the storytelling, the characters. You don't get much of either of those things. None of those things really gets a chance to shine, and unfortunately, with a movie like this, where there are characters in constant peril, it makes it difficult for you to root for any one of them. The biggest sin a movie can make in that regard, I would say, is like when you have characters in a situation which is life or death, and when they're facing death, you're like, if they die, so what? I mean, it's like, whatever. I thought that was kind of a disappointment. Let's talk about the characters, though. I think Claire Redfield is probably the one who gets the most development, which is also very bare bones. You get to know a couple of things about her past, and that's about it. And the rest of the film is like, okay, let's just roll with that. Beyond that, for the rest of the characters, you get little moments here or there where you see them do something or say something, and you're like, that's the character. People like Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Wexler, and Leon S. Kennedy, who we will talk about in a bit. That's all you get. Exposition, for real. In fact, in the case of Leon, it is only exposition that you know who he is and what he does. Now let's talk about Leon, because I really do want to. Now, Leon Kennedy in the games is a very popular character, someone people really love. And in the movie, he's an idiot. I'm not even being sarcastic or being funny. He is an absolute fucking dumbass. Every decision and every move that he makes is a stupid move. And I was gonna say rookie move because he's a rookie cop in the movie, so I guess they're trying to go with that idea that, oh, he's learning, he's just got on the force, so he's not supposed to be as good as he can be. I'm talking about the basic things. He's being an idiot even in those situations. But aside from maybe one moment in the entire film, he doesn't add much to it at all. In fact, for the other characters, like I said, all you get are bits. And I thought that was a huge disappointment. And it's one thing to play the games and say, well, in the games, this character is very significant because of these reasons. But at the end of the day, when you're in the theater, you have to keep in mind there are two audiences. There's the one half of it, which is moviegoer audience. It's just there to eat popcorn and enjoy an action flick. The other half is the video game crowd, who is there because they've played these games and want to see a movie based on them. Now, in that scenario, you have to make a movie that essentially caters to both. But the problem is this movie seems to be going all over the place. And so it ends up catering to kind of nobody. So you can't exactly enjoy it all the way if you're a moviegoer because there's just so many problems riddled throughout it. I'm going to talk more about them. And as a game player, you can see certain things and go, oh, that's cool. But then at the other hand, you're like, I don't know. Like, what is it exactly doing beyond being like, oh, that's from the game? Something another critic brought up in his review of the movie, I believe it was Jeremy Johns, was the idea of how gratuitous the movie is with the F word. And this is something that I kept thinking about while I was watching the film, and I couldn't help but agree more than ever with him. Because he is very much in the right about that, and I think the film really does not use those very well. Especially there's one character who keeps going, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, fuck. And then there's this one scene where they say, and I'm quote, Jesus fucking Christ, 3-4 times in succession. Characters like, I'm gonna go do this, Jesus fucking Christ. And then immediately it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then, Jesus fucking Christ. Jesus fucking Christ! It's like, enough! We get it! I don't know, it's kind of lazy. It's very lazy writing. I'm sorry, I just have to point it out. Let's talk about the action. It's not exactly well handled. It's a lot of in the dark action. Like, you will see something and then it's so murkily filmed and everything is so dimmed down that you can barely see a thing. And since the film takes place between 12 to 6 a.m., it really does not help. The only time you do see something clearly is really, really bad in terms of CGI. That's all I'm going to say about it. And if you've seen the movie over the last week and a half, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The film also has what might be the most rushed third act I have seen in a long time. The film just wraps up everything in about 10 minutes. Out of nowhere, it just ends. There's a mid-credits scene, but it just blasts through that last bit, and I was actually kind of shell-shocked by the time it was over. I don't know what happened over there. Were there like edits made? Is there a longer cut somewhere? Because it just stops. The movie just stops. I don't quite understand what the decision behind that was. But I will say this, despite all of my criticisms, let's say that you are a fan of the franchise and all you wanted was the atmosphere and those, moments, visual Easter eggs and fan servicey moments. You wanted a few of those in the film. Let's say that's something like you have always wanted as a Resident Evil fan, especially of those games, like I said. With that in mind, if that's all you want, then you're going to be very happy with this movie. It does it better than any of the movies before this have. But if you're wanting something a lot more out of it, justice done to some of your favorite characters, maybe, you might be a little on and off. Still, surprisingly, despite all my criticisms, I can't say it's the worst movie I've seen this year. It's not nearly the best. I would say it's still not a good movie at all. But it's better than the other Resident Evil movies, if that's saying anything. It was better than I expected it to be. I was expecting nothing to work. But I did walk out with a few positives, and that's all I can really say about it. I'm going to give Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City a 5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.